You know when you're watching a nature documentary and you see it? A brand new animal, maybe only minutes old, and it just finds its way to its mother for its very first meal? It honestly looks like some kind of magic. But what we're seeing, it's not magic at all. It's actually one of the most incredible and complex biological systems on the entire planet. I mean, that really is the question, isn't it? How do they do that? With zero instructions, their eyes are barely even open, and yet they navigate to the one exact spot they need to be. How? Well, it turns out it's this incredible cocktail of instinct, really powerful scent clues, and totally hardwired reflexes. It's all designed for survival from the very first minute of life. You know, one expert put it perfectly. They called it the only intuitive interface an animal has at birth. Think about that. It's like the perfect user interface. There's no instruction manual, there's no learning curve, it just works, and it works flawlessly right out of the box. So let's dive in and decode the programming behind this amazing biological design. Okay, so our first big clue is all about smell. Newborns, they aren't looking for the nipple. Their vision isn't even developed enough for that. Instead, what they're doing is following a super specific and really powerful scent map that's been laid out for them by their mother. And this scent map, it's just brilliant. It's got multiple layers. First, you've got the amniotic fluid, which the mother actually spreads on her belly. The baby already knows this scent. I mean, it's literally the smell of home. Then, the nipples themselves give off these specific chemical signals. They're called mammary pheromones. Think of them like a big, bright, flashing homing beacon saying, "Come here!" And finally, even the mother's saliva acts as another little signpost. Put it all together, and you've got an invisible but completely unmistakable trail. So the scent map leads the baby right to the target. But what happens once it gets there? Well, that brings us to our second clue, a totally automatic, pre-programmed reflex that requires absolutely no thinking at all. It's called the sucking reflex, and this is the part that is so crucial. It isn't a choice. It is a completely hardwired instinct. The second that the right shape and texture brushes up against that newborn's mouth, bam, the reflex takes over. They just latch on and start to suckle, all on its own. But here's where things get even more interesting. This instinct, it's so powerful, so automatic, that sometimes it goes wrong. The system isn't 100% foolproof, and that intense drive to suckle can lead to some interesting mistakes. And this is where you can really see just how powerful that instinct is. Normally, the specific sense and the body heat guide the baby to the reward, which is milk. But if an animal is orphaned or maybe just gets confused, that reflex will latch onto pretty much anything that feels remotely similar. They might try to suckle on a male sibling's penis, which can be incredibly dangerous for the male, or even on things like fingers or blankets. The very fact that this mistake can happen just proves how deep and fundamental that drive really is. Okay, but everything we've talked about is only half the equation. We get the baby's drive, right? But what about the mother? Let's be honest, nursing isn't always comfortable, and sometimes it can even be painful. So what's in it for her? Why is she so willing to participate in this? Well, there are two huge motivations going on here. The first one is just pure physical necessity. When mammary glands get really full of milk, it's a condition called engorgement. It can be intensely painful. So having the baby nurse actually provides this immense relief from all that pressure. But there's also something really powerful happening chemically inside her brain. And that chemical is oxytocin. You've probably heard of it. People call it the love hormone or the bonding hormone, and for a really good reason. Every single time her baby nurses, the mother's brain gets flooded with this powerful chemical, which creates a really profound biological reward for the act of feeding her young. The effects of this oxytocin flood are just huge. It creates these feelings of calm and intense love, and it really cements that powerful mother-infant bond. It also acts as a natural painkiller, which helps dull any discomfort from the suckling. It's basically a chemical cocktail perfectly designed to make the mother not just put up with nursing, but to actually seek it out as this deeply rewarding experience. But this biological contract, this win-win situation, it doesn't last forever. As the baby grows, the whole balance of power starts to shift. And that leads to what is basically an evolutionary tug of war between the parent and the child. Yeah, this is a really famous concept in biology called parent-offspring conflict. And if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, it makes perfect sense. The baby's goal is to get as much milk and energy as it possibly can for as long as it can. But the mother's goal is to save enough of her own energy to survive and maybe have more kids in the future. So eventually, their best interests just don't line up anymore. And you can see exactly how this shift plays out over time. At birth, the mother is totally on board. She's motivated by that physical relief and that amazing oxytocin rush. But then, as the baby gets bigger and starts to develop teeth, nursing can become genuinely painful. And eventually, you hit a tipping point where the pain starts to outweigh the chemical pleasure. And that's when the mother starts to push the baby away, signaling that, hey, it's time to move on. So the next time you see a mother nursing her young, just remember you're not just watching a simple meal. You're actually seeing this intersection of a powerful instinct, a chemical map, a hormonal reward system, physical necessity, and a really complex evolutionary negotiation, all happening at the exact same time. Which, it kind of leaves us with a final thought, right? Is this incredible act, this thing that we see as a symbol of love, is it primarily a chemical bond driven by hormones? Or is it more of a cold, hard survival contract dictated by evolution? Well, the truth, as we've seen, is that it's brilliantly and beautifully both.